is officially week 1. What's up? Welcome in. It is Packer week, and the Fishman is back. What's going on?
Guys, what a time to be alive. Bears, Packers, Jordan Love, Justin Fields.
Yep.
Can you just imagine Monday morning next week? Regardless of what happens.
See, Johns, I thought for sure he was opening.
He's going to the worst case scenario already.
I thought he was going Northwestern Rutgers to start the show. That's where I thought it was going to be. He was going to knock out the 15 seconds right away.
He's probably overdue. At this point, you probably owe him about a full hour's worth of Northwestern hits because of the time missed.
Yeah.
Listen, every day is one day closer to Northwestern basketball season.
They're a basketball school now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you. He was so excited off the top, and I just sucked it right out of him. That's a bad. I'm a
Thanks
bad
for coming
guy.
on the show, Kev.
I'm sorry.
What's up, everybody? Welcome. Sorry, I was trying to start over.
That was actually a really sad, genuine face there, and I feel bad about that now. Okay, yeah, let's start over.
My face for 3.5 hours on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yes, I watched all the way to the end because I didn't want to see my alma mater get shut out by Rutgers, and they didn't.
Well, good for them. That'd be pretty bad. All right, welcome into the show. It is week 1. It is Packer week. Adam Hoge, Adam Jahns here with you, along with Kevin Fishbain. Follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns, at K Fishbain. We are live on YouTube this morning. Thank you to those of you tuning in, having some coffee with us this morning. And, of course, those of you listening later in the day, the old-fashioned way with the podcast, we still love you very much. We are in game week mode. That means Kevin Fishbain is here. And, of course, we will break down the game really in depth on Thursday, as we always do with the guest, go through our picks. It's always fun when it's our first game week. Make sure you're following us on Twitter now, too, at Hoge Jahns on Twitter. Brand new Twitter account, growing fast. Appreciate everybody that's hit that follow button there. And, of course, all the merch is now available directly at hogeandjahns.com. All powered by Obvious Shirts. And it's just going through hogeandjahns.com, making it nice and easy for you as well. Hats, polos, all kinds of new things up there. So go check it out. Whew, here we go. You guys ready?
Week 1, finally. How do you feel about Packers, Bears, like week 1 just in general?
Oh, I like it.
You like it?
I think it adds.
I liked it in 2019, and that seemed to be, I won't go there, but
yeah, but I liked it in 18 too. Remember week 1 up there. I like it. I like it. I like when you start with a big game. I have to say though that my second feeling is this is kind of weird. Like no Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love.
Like we've covered games without Aaron Rodgers playing before, but not from the get-go, where he's like fully gone, and not just like returning from an injury and leading some miraculous comeback or just returning in a week or two later, but like he's gone. He's on TV with the Jets.
Do you guys ever have the feeling when you've been watching Hard Knocks, like it still doesn't seem real? Like, I'm still watching it thinking, like, yep, this guy's about to come to Soldier Field on Sunday and throw 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But he's not. Just to clarify.
Well, he could be on the Bears next year. I'm kidding. That's a joke. Settle down. But maybe. Isn't it just weird, though? I don't know. It for the first time, it feels like, I shouldn't say first time, but a rare time, it feels like the Bears should win. They're actually favored in this game. Now, it's very small favorite. They're like, I think, down to a 1-point favorite, and they're technically the home team. So, it's a toss-up, but I think the Bears think this is a game that they should win, and I don't know that they always go into these games thinking that.
Well, what did Matty Rubio say yesterday? He feels like man for man that the talent divide has decreased. Maybe increased in the Bears' favor.
Well,
I think
he just said that they feel like they're a more talented team. They've had plenty of player acquisitions. I should also mention, I think this is a big week for this podcast. I mean, we declared Jordan Love bad 2.5 years ago. So if he comes out and just throws for 4 touchdowns against the Bears on Sunday,
A certain shirt has to be removed from our website
we might have to put
temporarily.
Well, we should get rid of that shirt, and then we might have to go on like a 1-week suspension as a podcast. I don't know how you handle that.
I correct my revisionist history here is about to share, but unlike Brett Favre, there was no like clear changing of the guard. Like the end of the Brett Favre era, you could tell the Bears were like Brian Urlacher was here, Lovie Smith, like things were changing, were they not? Do you have that same vibe here with the change of guard of Packers quarterback again from Hall of Famer to Hall of Famer now to Jordan Love?
I don't, because one of the big differences there is the Bears were beating the Packers regularly.
Yes.
At the end of the Favre era, they actually had a stretch there with Lovie Smith where they went 7-3 against the Packers over that should have been a 5-year stretch, right? 10 games.
Then Aaron Rodgers became Aaron Rodgers and changed
then,
that.
Yeah, it was when Aaron Rodgers took over that everything went back towards the Packers when the Bears had that brief little surge in what has otherwise been a dominated rivalry for the last 30 years by the Green Bay Packers. So this is a little different in that it feels like it should start at minimum even out, right? But there's no evidence yet that it's actually going to happen.
That's why I think Monday is going to be like one side of this rivalry is going to take Sunday's result and run with it. And because as many questions as we have obviously more questions about Jordan Love than we do Justin Fields, but then we have a lot of questions about 2023 version of Justin Fields. I mean, there are these expectations that you get this new look offensive line, you got DJ Moore, you got another year with Chase Claypool. Like things are like the expectation is things are going to look a lot different on offense. Not to mention he's going to have an actual NFL defense to complement him. That he didn't have that in the second half of last season. So, like there's just a ton of unknowns for this game. I mean, Jordan Love's an unknown number one. But yeah, it's also weird. Like I know it's different in the NFL, but like, Hoge, you know this. Well, both you guys know this. Your high schools don't play your rival until like usually like late in the season.
Yeah. Well,
for the most part,
that's a touchy subject for me. I think there should be more non-conference rivalry games like locally that are played week one that aren't.
Okay.
But you're right. No,
name the town. No, name the town.
Well, I think you're talking about us.
Starts with an L and ends with an E.
Yeah, I think Carmel and Libertyville should start every season.
I think
that's just my opinion. I have no control over whatsoever. But there's two schools you can walk between them. And I'm not just talking about them. I think in general, like all these schools that are like right next to each other that don't happen to be in the same conference should always start the season against each other.
Like North Carolina played South Carolina.
There you go.
Yeah. But in college, Ohio State, Michigan is always the last game of the season.
Yeah.
Alabama, Auburn.
We'll see if that changes though.
True. Northwestern Illinois.
Here's the thing about week one, like in the NFL though, like last year the Bears beat the 49ers. And what did that really mean? Like Trey Lance was bad. Justin Fields was good. It was a really awful game to play in because of the weather conditions, but it doesn't really define where your season is going. And for some teams, it's almost like an extension of the preseason because they did like barely anything in the preseason, in the real preseason. If that makes sense. But
I was already trying to identify that game in the NFL slate this week. We'll get to that in Thursday's show. But
there's always that week one game that is just you look back at it in January and you cannot believe that it happened.
It
blown out of proportion. Yes. Yeah.
But to your point off the top, Kev, whatever happens Sunday in this Bears-Packer game will be I mean, basically the states of Illinois and Wisconsin will be on fire Monday, regardless. Hopefully not literally, because there is a drought going on. But I was
ban.
I was driving in Wisconsin yesterday, and there was like every other sign was like, "Please don't start a fire because it's really dry." I want to go back to the Bro Delicious comment a little while ago. I don't know where that went, but he was talking about what we were saying about Jordan Love, a few years ago, and he said, "Hoge, don't revise the history of the podcast. I only remember you asking the question, if Jordan Love is good, wouldn't they be dealing Rodgers and starting him instead? I appreciate that comment because that is actually what the conversation was. Instead of actually declaring him bad, it was more of like an intuition. And by the way, I still believe that. If he was everything they thought he was when they moved up, don't forget they traded up in the first round to draft Jordan Love, then I think the only move that would have made sense if they weren't having doubts would have been to trade Rodgers before that draft where the Bears drafted Justin Fields. That was the year. And they would have gotten a boatload back for Rodgers, and the Packers would be in a much different situation than they are now. Now, it is possible, however, that he's gotten better. That maybe he wasn't immediately the guy they thought as a first rounder, but sitting behind Aaron Rodgers gave him the development that most young quarterbacks, especially first-round quarterbacks, don't get.
Never get.
Do I think he's going to be an all-pro quarterback? No, but could he be more than serviceable for a few years here as their starter because of that time? That is still possible. That's still on the table. So I still don't think he was what they thought when they drafted him, but it is possible that Jordan Love is still going to be a problem here for the Bears.
I believe Aaron Rodgers himself is on record saying that he believed that the Packers were going to move on from him after Love's rookie season. Am I right in saying that?
I mean, I think anybody with a football brain would have thought that was on the table, including Aaron Rodgers.
But the problem is he delivered an MVP season and then delivered, one more, right? 2 MVP seasons after the selection of Jordan Love. So that changes the conversations a bit. You can't trade an MVP.
Well, you could, especially if you're already sick of them, which I think they were.
Just they got progressively more sicker of him.
So, and then there's also this thing going on with the Packers from last year is there's this narrative that Aaron Rodgers wasn't great last year. So let me back up. Some people will say, well, how are the Packers going to be any better without Aaron Rodgers? Which is a very logical thing to say. But then there's others that are like, well, Aaron Rodgers wasn't Aaron Rodgers last year. So are they really losing Aaron Rodgers? And I would just like to rewind to the end of the season. For most of last year, Aaron Rodgers was not having a great year. But that team was headed towards like bottom 10 until they went on a little run at the end of the year and actually put themselves in position to almost make the playoffs. And that was when Aaron Rodgers started to look like Aaron Rodgers again. So it's still on the table for me this year that the Packers could be awful. If I had to pick one team in this division that could end up having like a tire fire like season, I would actually go with Green Bay. I'm not predicting that, but if I had to pick one that has the lowest floor, I think it's actually the Packers.
Wasn't Aaron Rodgers? We're saying his full name a lot, maybe too much in this podcast. Wasn't Rodgers also missing Devontae Adams last season?
Yes.
Let's not forget that narrative where he had all these new young receivers. Didn't Kalen Kaler do a story, Kevin, about how he hated the young guys? I'm exaggerating, but we'll go with what I just said. He hated the kids. He hates kids. Aaron Rodgers hates kids. But
well, he doesn't have any.
True.
That we know.
Good point. Car alarm's going off outside. I think it's my car.
Well, that's not good.
It's not good.
Do you need a break? Are you home alone?
We're good. I'm not home alone. Could be one of the kids for all I know. So they should be in school.
Well, maybe Aaron Rodgers is onto something then.
Aaron Rodgers is listening right now, live from New York. We've said his name so many times. It's like the bat signal has gone up. Someone's saying my name live on YouTube. You get notifications.
Well, all right. We're excited. I do want to get to, and we'll take some questions here too, but I also want to get to Kevin's story this morning on The Athletic, where he's breaking down film with Justin Fields. Pretty awesome. Hope everybody checks it out. theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns. But Kev, what do you want to tell us about this story off the top?
So this story actually started late last season. I did one with Cole Kmet, where I went through Cole Kmet's top plays, and he kind of broke them down for me. And I looked at 5 play, and they're all good plays because that's a little bit more fun. But there's another side to that. So I sat down with Luke Getsy first, and he broke down the plays for me. Then Justin Fields got hurt. Remember at the end of the season, so I didn't get a chance to talk to Fields about it, and it actually worked out well to talk to him at the end of training camp because 3 of the 5 plays are against the Packers at Soldier Field from last year. So it's a fun little setup for this season. So, he walked me through what he's looking at pre-snap, how he adjusts to the coverage changes on each play. One was that touchdown run against Green Bay where Luke Getsy said, I would have preferred it at first if he just threw it to Dante Pettis, who kind of runs a little hot route because his man blitzes. But, I'm not going to, it's just, he's an athlete. Instincts took over. And Fields is I didn't want to make that throw because that's a terrible angle, and he might have knocked that down. He might have picked it off. And they actually said they changed the play this year. So that's maybe an easier hot route for that play. So overall, it was a cool opportunity to get to do this with Fields. He was, you listen to him talk about these plays and dissect them, and it's pretty impressive. But my favorite thing was at the end, I told him, I said, I didn't ask you about any interceptions. And the reason I didn't ask you about any interceptions is because after games, and you guys know this, Fields details his interceptions almost too well. I joked with Getsy, I'm you probably want him to not talk about his interceptions so much because he's giving up play information. So I asked Fields about it. And do you guys remember Fields' rookie year at Lambeau, back to the Packers again? There was a boot play. He's rolling to his right, and there was a coverage breakdown. A-Rob changed up his route and was wide open down the middle of the field. And Fields didn't throw it to him. And everybody asked about it. And Nagy was the first day. Nagy's look, that's not in his progression. There's no way he should have gotten to Robinson. And Fields told us that too. Well, Fields still thinks about that play because he's I want you guys, talking about the reporters, and because we're kind of the conduit to the fans, he's I want you guys to know that there's a reason for everything that I do. I don't want you guys to think that I'm just out here throwing the ball around. So I'm happy to tell you everything involved in the play so that you know exactly why, I made the mistake that I made. So I thought that was, interesting and kind of eye-opening to the way he views these things, because he is really not defensive when he talks about picks, but he's just you could tell he's thinking I know you guys are going to assume some things, so I'm just going to nip it in the bud and tell you exactly what happened. So so it was a fun conversation, enlightening. If you're a football nerd, it's great. Even if you're not, I think it's fun to especially, I was also thinking about this, and Hoge, I know we talked about, and John's, the quarterback show. I think one of the coolest parts of the quarterback show is the episode where they talk about plays. And he doesn't get that detailed, but he talks about certain play calls, certain reads. The lingo is kind of fun. So I hope people get a chance to read it.
What I appreciate most about the story, one, great idea, great execution. It's an excellent read. I just love the X's and O's behind the scenes stuff. I just love that type of storytelling. But in today's NFL coverage, everybody has access to the film, right? And I mean this respectfully because there's a lot of former players who analyze the film. There's a lot of great draft analysts. There's just so much to consume. I really like it when the players almost take control of this and walk you through what they're actually trying to do themselves, where they're wrong. Not just us thinking where they're wrong, but them telling you exactly where they're wrong or where they're right, where their progressions are supposed to be. Because most times, all of us outside that room are assuming what his reads are supposed to be. Some of us have different experiences. Some of us ask different questions. Some of us have played the position before at different levels. I'm talking about all NFL media. But to hear it from the player himself, I love that. I wish more quarterbacks would do that a lot. Even the good stuff more and more. I get it. Everything's a state secret for NFL teams, but just in this world we live in where everything is there at your fingertips in terms of film reviews. I like that Fields sat down with you on this. Hope he does it again.
The other fun
I want in.
The other fun play was a third down play against the Lions, where the reason I think it was Getsy kind of helped out in picking the plays. I think the reason he picked his plays, Fields scrambles and throws it while moving to his left, throws to his right to Byron Pringle for a first down. It's an incredible athletic throw. But I think Getsy liked it because Fields didn't just take off. There was plenty of room, but he kept his eyes downfield, made the throw. And if you watch that play, Mooney runs a switch release. He said, it's a corner route. And they call it the hole shot, right, between the corner and the safety. And it looks like it's there. And talked about it with both of them. And it was interesting. That was the fun thing about talking about these plays with Justin Fields this year, is he looked at that play, goes, okay, if I had to do this today, here's what I would do differently. And he kind of explained what throw he would have made so he wasn't forced to scramble. I mean, the pressure came, so he kind of didn't have a whole lot of choices. But that was kind of cool too, again, because so much about 2023 Justin Fields is how can he evolve his game to the next level? And I think a lot of it is, can he take this film room stuff? Like, we obviously know he knows the game and he understands defenses. How does that translate on the field? So it's kind of cool too to see, like, okay, this is what I did last season. If this came up again this season, here's what I would do differently.
Well, yeah, I just think it's really cool whenever we get like these peeks behind the scene of what's really happening. Because, right, like, you see how much people like these breakdowns that our guy JT O'Sullivan's doing on QB School, but like, he admits in those videos, is like, I don't know what the progressions are. I don't know. Like, he's like, this is how I would do it. This is how I would teach it. But he doesn't know what they're teaching until you hear it from the coaches and the players. We're kind of guessing, and that's okay. I mean, that's all we can do. But yeah, there's like that. I like hearing that from Justin, that he wants to just kind of spell it out as much as he possibly can, because the downside of that really is that, yeah, okay, you're walking other teams through your scheme, through your progressions, through what you're thinking. That's obviously the downside of being so candid about it.
But coaches are smart. Can I interject? Like, but coaches are smart on both sides of the ball. Like, Kyle Shanahan is almost like very open with a lot of things, like injuries included.
Right.
And he just loves the chess match. Like, okay, you think these are my progressions this time? I'll run the same exact play, but instead of going A, B, and C, now B is A, C is D. They move things around and adjust. That's the beauty of football played at this level. Really, any level, you adjust.
Well, and that's what I was going to say too, is I feel like the best coaches, look, they're all going to be paranoid, but the best ones are going to be less paranoid and more confident, and honestly give more respect to their opposing coaches, to know, like, they can, whether I say this in a press conference or not, they're going to see it on film. They know it, right? Like, and so it's like, even Bill Belichick, who has this reputation for not saying a lot, he'll get into some details sometimes if you ask him the right question the right way, and he'll lay it out there.
Well, I think here's my theory. There is a Bill Belichick, like, influence, call it. Like, they see him be very secretive about injuries. They see him not divulge. These are other young coaches coming up, and this is the best head football coach of all time. So, of course, they're going to see it and be like, okay, this works for him. Maybe it could work for me. I think that's what I appreciate about some of these younger coaches, Kyle Shanahan included. Even Luke Getsy, is they enjoy the chess match of it, and they're confident in their own abilities to divulge a little bit of information.
That also makes me excited for this weekend, because, we get Flus and Getsy and Fields all throughout OTAs and training camp. But now, this week, we could talk about actual matchups. Next week, we could talk about actually what happened in the game. It's nice to have that. And one other plug for the story, speaking of this week, there's an interesting stuff in there about Jair Alexander, the Packers corner, and the way he plays, the way the Bears kind of took advantage of it, and then how they didn't later on in the game, and Alexander took advantage. So, kind of, again, Johns, you talk about that chess match. It's kind of, because the other thing too, because I talked to Johns before I wrote this, I was a little nervous that maybe they gave me too much about, like, the way they view Jair Alexander. But we have to remember, all these teams have the same scouting reports on guys. It's not that secretive. Like, whatever they think of Alexander, every team probably has that. He knows it. But that's just a kind of fun little plot in the story.
Well, one big difference this year. It's not Equinemius St. Brown trying to beat him. It's a guy called DJ Moore.
Equinemius St. John. He's going to get the block.
Yeah, there's no
St.
St. John coming his way. There's a DJ Moore who has actually had some considerable success, I believe, against Alexander.
Okay, isn't that fun? Like, we know the Packers have Jair Alexander, but we don't get this a lot. Where in any matchup, it's who's going to be on the Bears' top wide receiver, right? It's like the Bears have that guy that the opposing team's going to be worried about at the wide receiver position. Like they kind of had that with Allen Robinson, but Allen Robinson never really separated enough to like make it that big of a problem. Like it's probably been since Brandon Marshall that there's the Packers, if you think about it from the Packers side and what they're talking about in their defensive meeting rooms this week, how they got to shift coverage and how they got to be worried about DJ Moore and then make sure that on the backside, Darnell Mooney doesn't spring loose. You just think about it from that perspective, and this offense theoretically should be much harder. Well, not theoretically. It definitely will be much harder for the Packers to game plan than they had, than last year.
And DJ Moore, in my opinion, is better than Allen Robinson.
I agree.
Yeah.
Right?
Without a doubt.
Yes.
It's not even
I was
close.
going to say it's the best probably NFC North wide receiver corner matchup the Bears have had since 2017, Dontrell Inman versus Xavier Rhodes.
It's messed up.
Okay.
So, in conclusion, Justin Fields handling the interception questions better than this.
Do you remember the receivers on the?
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
He's playing Mitch.
I mean, that was like a blatant toss to something.
Sorry. I had something in my head. I had to get
You
it.
love the interception questions. Like I was counting you for that.
Mitch Trubisky counting on Johns for the interception questions.
I just was thinking about all the 2017 wide receivers, and it made me laugh. And sorry for interrupting. Kendall Wright was the leading receiver on that team.
Josh Bellamy.
Josh Bellamy, Johnson's guy, Tanner Gentry.
Kendall Wright made an outstanding catch against the Ravens.
He did. Led
Yeah.
to the victory. Yeah.
That's when you felt really good about the potential of Mitch Trubisky at that moment because he was a rookie, not the best receiver court. The memories.
Good times.
But yeah, I guess DJ Moore's pretty
Kendall
good.
Wright.
No, don't care.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Mitch. I have a question for you guys. Yes or no, Jaquan Brisker is on the injury report tomorrow?
So wait,
because I think he miraculously recovers and is not even listed.
I was just going to say he's not going to be listed because to list him, they have to list what the injury is.
Yeah,
and they don't.
That's my point.
Yeah, and
they're being it's such a state secret that he's going to be. And I honestly don't know the difference because sometimes you see a player's listed as full, and the listing injury but practice in full. But in this case, the first injury report of the season, as long as you practice all the reps, I don't think they have to put him on there.
I think that I'm going to find this I'm pretty sure last year's first week injury report was like a similar situation where they had a ton of injuries in camp, so we were wondering what it was going to look like. And then, by the way,
is empty.
Sorry, Eli and Peyton Manning's schedule is up, and they're not doing the Bears Monday night game.
I can't even think of what they're. Vikings.
Yeah.
Right in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins is like their guy. He was on their TV show.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have enough Kirk Cousins. What was your question again?
Is Jaquan Brisker on the injury report tomorrow?
Yes.
You think he is? Okay. Kev?
Hold on. I'm pulling up last year, the first injury report of the season. The only player on the report was Velus Jones, who did not participate. He was dealing with a hamstring injury, and Dominique Robinson was limited with a knee. And if you remember last year, they also had all these veterans who are suddenly like healthy. None of them were on the Wednesday injury report to start the season.
Well, Brisker and Jackson are the only ones in question, correct? At this point?
Yes.
Jackson?
Eddie Jackson.
Oh,
Just
he's in
'cause
question.
No, well, he was. Or
He's,
he,
fi-
well,
he's fine now, right?
Well, Eberflus seemed to suggest that, like, almost he wasn't. Like, he's still
Oh.
trending in the right direction yesterday. He was asked about Brisker, but he threw in Eddie Jackson's name as well.
My prediction is that Dylan Cole's the only player on the injury report tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll go with that.
I think that's what's going to happen. But we'll see. It'll be out tomorrow, Wednesday after practice. And that'll be fun. All right. Do we have any questions here? I don't know. Ken, if there's more questions, we can just pop them up. I think we got to let Kevin go here in a few minutes here anyway. All right. Maps to millions. I actually like this. Whoever wins this one it's not an overreaction. If the Bears lose this at home to Jordan Love, that's a huge deal. So I don't want to hear that it's an overreaction.
I meant more like the Packers, like the fans of the winning team are going to overreact. I agree with that. Like you can, if you're a Bears fan, you can be pretty upset by losing Jordan Love. But if the Packers come into Soldier Field and win Jordan Love's debut as the starter, I think Packers fans will take that and roll with it. And good for them.
What if the Packers win that one and then like have a Bears-like season like last year?
Well, and that's what I was okay. But here's why I actually agree with that comment, because we saw this in 18. The Bears blew a lead in the second half at Lambeau. Got to beat the Packers. Got to beat the Packers. Changing of the guard. Khalil Mack's here. Everything plays out the way you thought it was going to. And then Aaron Rodgers comes out of that tunnel at halftime, lights them up in the second half. Bears lose. Talk about a week one overreaction. The Bears went on to go 12-4. The Packers didn't even make the playoffs. In fact, the Bears beat the Packers to win the division later in the year. However, big picture, nothing changed. And that's the last time they've beat the Packers. So I think it depends the context of what you're talking about. Could the Bears lose to Green Bay week one and still rebound and win this division with a great... Yeah, theoretically, sure. But I still think that this rivalry matters.
Well, I'm not saying it doesn't.
And just beyond the rivalry, if you're ever going to take the North, right, as the GM said when he got here, that starts with beating your divisional opponents, and even more so, it starts with beating the Packers. So I do think big picture that this matters, that you have to win this game.
Oh, you're saying this week one must win?
Must win big picture. If you're talking about all the things that they're talking about culturally, turning this thing around, I'm not saying it matters for making the playoffs this year. If that's the goal, I think it is their goal, but we don't really know. I do think this matters.
I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm just saying if it's a long season.
And
there's a lot of things that are going to matter. There's going to be a lot of must-win like games. There's going to be another matchup with them. The Vikings are still played twice. Lions are played twice. I know what you're saying.
Justin Fields needs to outplay Jordan Love in this game. Minimum. Regardless of wins and losses, that better happen.
I'm gonna run my son's first day of school, but I'm gonna leave you guys.
That's kind of important. Yeah,
okay. I'm gonna leave you guys with a fun fact.
Please do.
Matt Eberflus undefeated in season openers.
It's a great point.
See ya.
Lock up the Bears.
2.5 point favorites, are they not?
I thought it went down. Let me look that up. I thought it went down a little bit.
It's early in the year. What if the Bears or Panthers finish the season with the worst record in the NFL? Will the Bears draft Caleb Williams or pass on a QB to draft the position of need? This is from Eco Bean in the chat. I don't want to go down that road yet. I really don't. As intriguing as as impressive and as good as he looked in his season debut for USC. I don't know. I still want to see this season play out.
Yeah.
I'll be ready to have that conversation about all those great quarterbacks that could be in next year's draft when we're at like week 12, week 13, where we actually have a pretty definitive idea of what the draft order could be and what Justin Fields is doing at that point. But that is like a subplot to everything here, but I'm not ready to go down that road.
Sure. Look, by the way, the Bears are 1 point favorites. So
1 point favorites.
Yeah, it has moved towards the Packers. Not necessarily surprisingly, but to that question, I know I went down this road last year a little bit too, but things changed in season with the trades that were made. Like, I didn't see a scenario last year that I think I said something like, if the Bears are picking top 3 or top 5, something seriously went wrong with the quarterback. That turned out to be wrong. Things changed. They traded off a lot of the roster. Clearly they were, not necessarily trying to lose every game, but they went in that obvious direction that turned out to be great for them, which is good with getting the number 1 pick. I just think this roster is in a different spot this year. And I believe I can definitively say that this year. If the Bears end up with a number 1 or number 2 pick, with their pick, not the Panthers pick,
because they may have it with the Panthers pick,
something went seriously wrong. I think the problem, to the better question, and I agree with you, Johns, like, we shouldn't even be dealing with this yet. But maybe a more realistic question is, Panthers bottom out. You do have that top 2 pick from them. And this is more like a season like last year for Justin Fields, where he's still pretty good. Because I still think there's a floor there with his legs. I just think he's too talented. He's too special. He can bust out a 60-yard touchdown run on any given snap. But if he doesn't quite make that progression from a passing standpoint, and I do think there will be at least some improvement, but if he doesn't quite take that leap, now all of a sudden you could be in a tough position. Like, if you're in the same position after this season as you were last year, that's a tougher call to me.
In an ideal world, Justin Fields shows enough development. Like, this is like the big storyline of the entire season, right? He shows enough development. He beats Jordan Love. He outplays Kirk Cousins. Jared Goff becomes an afterthought in Detroit. They're competitive. The Bears are competitive in the division. They may not win it, but they flirt with the playoffs and whatnot. Like, you see enough from your quarterback where now you have these 2 first-round picks, and you're the Bears, and you could just pick the best player available or move around and just fill in so many different needs. Well, there's another wide receiver.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh, he's hurt, though. It's another question for
Don't
later.
care. Jackson Smith and Jigba was hurt last year, too. Although,
true.
of course, now he's hurt now. So,
yeah. So true. The offensive line, that pass rusher, that missing pass rusher we've been talking about at length for a while now. You are in position to draft premium positions at the top of the draft. If the Panthers stink, or you have a mid to late first-round pick with your pick if things go well with Justin Fields. But like, the ideal scenario for the Bears is that there's progress from your quarterback. Things click with DJ Moore. Cole Kmet continues to get better. The defense is solid. The young players emerge. Like, that's what you're hoping if you're the Bears. And then you're just in such a position of strength to use those 2 first-round picks to really better your roster and finally, make yourselves a serious contender.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show you that regardless, having 2 first-round picks.
Like, saying all that feels like a dream, though. I've covered this team long enough to know how things can go south. But, like, that is the dream. That is the ideal scenario for the Bears.
Yep. Kent, our producer, put a question in our private chat asking if the head coach is the only advantage the Packers have in this game, which got me thinking. Do we know that Matt LaFleur is a better head coach than Matt Eberflus? Like, resume-wise, of course you're going to say that, right? Like, he's had plenty of success with Green Bay. And Flus is still new, and it's 1 season, and they didn't win a lot of games. But Matt LaFleur without Aaron Rodgers, right? Like,
it's what we all have to see.
Like, yes, to answer the question, you'd be an idiot if you didn't give Matt LaFleur the edge if you're going into this matchup. Who's the better head coach? Like, sure, it's like more based on resume than anything. But this has to be a talking point in Wisconsin, I would think. Like, what are they going to learn about Matt LaFleur, the head coach, this year, now that Aaron Rodgers isn't there anymore? And I think that's going to be a fascinating subplot to the Packers season. And then, meanwhile, we've been saying that all offseason here with Matt Eberflus. Did we really learn a lot about his in-game coaching last year? Because I don't really think we did. There were some fourth down decisions here and there, but like for the most part, we looked at last year. It's like, well, they played hard. They were competitive. They seemed to buy in the hits principle. The culture seems to be like,
But they purposely bottomed out.
yeah.
Like they purposely fielded a bad roster. They had the most dead money in the NFL. It was the first time in my 12 years covering this team where we saw a GM and a head coach, because they're into this together, like fully go to the full rebuild mode. We've seen Pace and Emery try to rebuild on the fly, but what Poles and Eberflus did last year was a full rebuild.
Like I could see a scenario where by the end of the year, people are making the argument that the Bears have the better head coach. I'm not saying that now, but it's going to be interesting to watch in both cities how that plays out.
Well, isn't one of the storylines in you kind of mentioned to this a little bit, like in Green Bay right now, that we're finally going to see Matt LaFleur's real offense because Aaron Rodgers isn't here to get in its way or get what he wants, because that wasn't that part of the conversation for the past couple of years. It was a blend of what Aaron wants and what Matt LaFleur wants to try to install and trying to get him on board.
Well, that was a conversation right away. Remember that first season together?
Yes, that wasn't good.
It was rocky, and there was friction there over, and then Aaron Rodgers did get his way. So
Got an MVP out of it.
Yep. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I'm not surprised to see that line moving towards the Packers, but I don't know. And all of a sudden, I'm seeing rain for Sunday too. Are we gonna have another monsoon game?
Be fun.
That's true.
That would favor the Bears.
Yeah. By the way, you want to guess which late round flyer Bears player I drafted in my fantasy league yesterday?
Roshan Johnson.
I did. I might have to cut him after a week because I don't know how fast that's going to happen, but
he's not playing.
Oh, I don't know. Or will he? Will that be a surprise? I don't know.
So my 6-year-old son, of course, he has the two older brothers playing fantasy, so there was an extra spot in one of their fantasy leagues. Get this. My 4th grade son's fantasy league has 18 teams.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. I've never seen a league that big. So there's 2 divisions. It's fun because it's all their friends, but they had 17 of them. They needed one more, so my little guy got in, and he's on the computer. He's up. He's got like the 17th pick, right, which is in the first round still. He went Fields right away. Good. I let him make the decision. Go ahead. Have fun, buddy.
All right. Well, it depends what kind of scoring you're in. If you're in a 2-quarterback league or super flex, Fields is a no-brainer early.
Although last year he emerged, with the way he was running. I mean, he ran for over 1,000 yards.
Yep.
He was still passing the ball. The Bears may not have been winning, but teams were winning in fantasy.
Yep.
Because of him.
Well, and I think DJ Moore is going to be a player in fantasy. Otherwise, I'm not really sure. Like
That's all the fantasy talk, Adam Hoge, I'm going to give you for the entire year, though.
Okay, but
I'll give you more. I'll give you stories about my son's argument.
If it's Bears relevant, I feel like it's. I think it fits in the podcast.
There's some betting lines out there. Before we go, that have DJ Moore at like 800 receiving yards.
Like the over under?
Yes.
Ooh.
And this was as of last week.
Well, I'm sure that's got to be suppressed by just the doubt of how much the Bears are actually going to throw the ball or how many yards Fields is going to actually throw for.
Well, just read the papers or read The Athletic. Listen to this podcast. Take the over.
Yeah,
again,
I would take the over on that for sure.
If the Bears are bad this year, is because there's been some unfortunate circumstances, whether it's Fields, Moore, Kmet, on and on and on. If things are good, I'm telling you that connection between Justin Fields and DJ Moore is going to be good.
I know it's just the preseason, but didn't he have over 100 yards on just 2 touches in the preseason?
That's pretty good.
I mean, I think that's
He
an
got 62 yards on one of them.
Yeah, and I think the other one went for 40. So, okay. It's an interesting over-under. All right, good to have Kevin back on, the Fishman, and we are fully in the game week here. Really excited about it. We'll be back Thursday with our preview episode. Get in depth with the Packers a little bit more. Check in on how things are going up in Green Bay as they prepare. Maybe some of those storylines we're hinting at today. And then, of course, make our picks. See what kind of questions linger the rest of the week. Obviously, offensive line and Jaquan Brisker's health, I think, at the top. And hopefully we'll have some answers by Thursday. In the meantime, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns, and, of course, our new show account at Hoge and Jahns on Twitter or X, or I don't know. Are we supposed to change that? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Twitter. I don't really care. It's still Twitter to me. But it's at Hoge and Jahns regardless. And then hogeandjahns.com for all your merch. It's a great website. Obvious Shirts put together for us there. Check it out. You can order all the merch right through there and get it in time for this week. Of course, you can read Johnsy on The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge and Jahns, and that's also where Kevin's story is on Justin Fields breaking down film. Make sure you go check that out today. We'll have you covered on CHGO all week long with noon shows. We'll be live at noon later today. You can also check that out as a podcast. And also got the tailgate coming up Sunday before the game. So allchgo.com/events. You can get tickets for that. Really excited about our first tailgate of the season, some of the changes we made there to make it even better. So go check that out. And my newsletter is also available to CHGO diehards. So please go sign up there. All right. Any final thoughts, Johnsy?
I got a big story coming out tomorrow, too,
Oh, yeah.
on a certain receiver. Check it out on theathletic.com.
Oh, I think I know who it is.
Good job by Equinemius St. John. He's going to get the block.
It is not him.
Oh, okay. Look for that, theathletic.com/Hoge and Jahns. We'll talk to you Thursday.
See ya.